Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you all for attending this overview and scrutiny committee for housing and community. We have first of all we go through the minutes of the last meeting. Does anyone have any comments they wish to add to the minutes? Hearing no comments, so can we take it that they are approved? Right, okay, they are agreed. I'll sign them in a moment. Right, we'll move on to apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies? No. I have had an apology from Councillor Simi Dehantry. So she had personal reasons for not being able to attend.
Can I have apologies for Councillor Barradell? He's also unable to attend this evening. He's stuck in London.
Okay, thank you. Nobody else? Okay, so we will move on. Is there any declarations of interest? Seeing no hands go up, so I will take it that there are none. Public participation. Is there any from the public?
No.
Right, that makes things simpler. Any matters referred to the committee in relation to call-in? I don't believe we've seen anything on that front. And action points from the last meeting. So.
Sorry, Chair, can I interrupt? I forgot to mention earlier on. Mark Pinnell seems to be appearing in our membership of this committee each time the agenda comes through. I don't know if anyone else has picked up on it yet.
Yeah, I did notice that. I have amended that, and I'll put him as an officer rather than a member. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think change it.
Councillor Freeman asked for a deep dive to be added to the cost of mould. That's from, it was completed in September last year. Are there any other things that you're aware of?
No, so I think that's still ongoing, that one, because we haven't actually had a deep dive on it.
Right, okay.
So
Is
I
it
think
on?
that was still in discussion.
I had received an email of kind of what I had in mind, which I've responded to. But again, that's just my, I just want to stress, that's my personal suggestion on what I thought might help.
If I may, Chair. The team are happy and will schedule a deep dive on damp and mould, and we'll take any feedback we receive from committee and councillors in respect of what particular information is pertinent to that deep dive. We're currently awaiting for the forthcoming schedule for forthcoming scrutinies to be issued so that we can schedule that into the forward plan. So as yet it hasn't been scheduled, which is why it still remains on your action list.
Is it on the forward plan?
Not as yet, no.
Yeah, we don't have the dates for the next cycle, so the full plan only goes up to March.
Could we put it on the forward plan without a date?
Yeah.
Just say these are for the next year, and then obviously schedule it when you're ready to do the proper report to the committee.
Thank you.
I would have thought it's appropriate that we can put things on the forward plan without putting a date on them. And then we agree what the date should be when you've had a chance to review it. Okay, the work programme.
I've actually got it down for October 2026. It says at the bottom of the work programme, so I
Okay,
was obviously given that date. That's when it's going to be scheduled for. And it's coming as a feedback item rather than a deep dive. I think it was agreed as.
yeah. I'm looking around the room. Yeah, please.
Well, actually, leading on from that, the business plan refers to the strategic asset review being completed early in the new year, which I assume is the financial year. I just wondered if any thought had been given as to when that might come, or indeed whether it is on the forward plan, as it were, for this committee.
So the strategic asset review report has just been received by myself this week, scheduled for review by SLT in the next fortnight. And then typically we would be then reverting to the portfolio holder, Councillor William Allen, for committee. So that would typically be scheduled for the F&R Scrutiny Committee. But if there are any housing elements that relate to that, then we would programme for this committee. But as yet, date hasn't been set for that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Does anyone else want to raise issues related to the forward plan? I'm not seeing any hands go up.
While we're on the subject of it, for the March one, I've just had the pre-cabinet item removed. So as it stands, there's only the deep dive, community safety deep dive item. So I know members prefer to have more than one item on the agenda. So again, we obviously need to discuss that because there's only one item on the agenda for March now.
How do members feel about having a committee meeting just for one item? Are you happy to do that, or would you prefer it be postponed and combined with a future meeting?
I think postponement would be most appropriate. I would say a postponement would be most appropriate in that case.
Is there a
Subject to the meeting. What is the one item again? Sorry.
It's a deep dive, community safety deep dive item.
So shall we take a sort of informal vote? Those in favour of postponement, just stick your hands up.
Can we not add any other items to the agenda? Because we do want to avoid cancelling it.
So, Chair, if I may, the service already notified of the removal of that item today. So we are reviewing whether or not additional items can be added to that agenda.
Okay. Just of the members who would prefer to keep the meeting as is. Right. So there's a preference for postponement if there's only one item, but I think it's a case of let's hold fire and see what's there. Sally, do you want to come in?
Yeah, can I just make a point? And that is that we have reduced the number of scrutiny meetings quite considerably from what used to be the case. And until there's some clarity around what's actually going to occur on this agenda, can I suggest it's left in the diary and it's cancelled nearer the time rather than to make that decision now? It's much more difficult to put another one back in if there's stuff that we need to bring forward. And we have actually got a very full agenda across the council in a number of areas, and I would be very reluctant that we remove a scrutiny meeting at this time when we could, as I said, cancel it nearer the time if we don't have other things coming forward.
I think what is important to recall is there's a preference not to just have one item on the meeting, but I think we'll review it sort of about 2 weeks beforehand to see if it's appropriate, and then we'll make a decision then. So, okay. Do you want to come in?
So are we agreeing on postponement?
No.
No, okay.
We're recording if there is a preference, there's a preference of the members for postponement if there's only one item on the agenda in 2 weeks before the next meeting. And I'm assuming that the whole team is going to listen to that, and therefore 2 weeks beforehand, they will either have more items on the agenda or we'll postpone it. But it will be a decision nearer the time, so we don't make a decision now. Okay. Does anyone else want to comment on that or the forward plan.
Yeah,
Councillor Merton.
you invited me to comment on that. Yeah, my opinion on that is that community safety is an important enough and a big enough topic that it could probably fill an agenda for an evening anyway. And I'm always reluctant to postpone any meetings when officers have gone to all the trouble of preparing reports for us. That's just my opinion.
Agreed.
Yeah, ideally we want to add more items to the agenda.
Yeah, but even if it was only one, I think it's really important that we hold these meetings for the record.
Yeah, okay, you know that. Okay, moving on. We will move on to the tenancy agreement review. Who is speaking on this?
So I'm going to hand over to Ryan, Head of Housing Management, and the team. I'll ask Ryan just to lead introductions to his team for the committee.
Evening all, Ryan Glanville, Head of Housing Management, and this project I was previously leading on that. However, over the last couple of weeks I've handed that over to the very capable hands of Kevin Mutio and Leanne Cross from Tenancy Management, and they're going to talk you through what's happened since the consultation closed with our residents and what the next steps are as we lead to finalise that draft and issue a new variation of conditions to our tenants. Thank you. Kevin?
Yes.
Please.
Thank you very much, Chair and members. First, before I start, I do want to say a big thank you. This document has been going through the governance pathway. We've received invaluable feedback from members. And today we'll be taking you through 4 key areas: the consultation outcome of the tenancy agreement review, the key finding and emerging themes of that review, the policy implication and practice, and then the next steps and the kind of proposed timescales for this review process.
So the consultation ran between the 1st of September and the 31st of October last year. We sent a letter out to all tenants via post pointing them to our engagement platform on the website with links to the 42-page summary of the proposed changes along with the notice of proposed variation to their tenancy agreement, FAQs, and also a video which was of myself, explaining what the changes were to the tenancy agreement. Overall, we reduced the clauses from 99 clauses to 72 and made it plain English. Well, that's probably not plain English saying it like that, but that's what it was. We basically really wanted to get tenants involved in every way that they could do by using a plethora of methods to make sure that everyone could participate and give us their feedback on the new agreement. And we also really wanted to be transparent and clear with our tenants to get their feedback so that it amplifies their voice, which matches up with the regulated social housing and tenant satisfaction measures. We consulted and we briefed all of our housing teams so that anytime they got contacted by a tenant, they were able to answer questions. Customer services were briefed in case they received any contact, which was likely. There were blog posts done, a poster in reception. Members viewed the video as well and were asked to speak to residents about it. I visited the Supported Housing Tenants Forum meeting to outline the proposed changes and answer questions that they had. We had social media posts, officers had badges so that when they were out and about, they could scan it for the tenants and then go through the survey with them if needed. And we offered so many ways for them to be back to us. They could call us, they could have one-on-one phone calls that we could arrange for them, home visits. Printouts are available at all council offices. We also visited supported housing schemes to their coffee mornings to answer any questions. Some officers were able to give presentations, others were simply there just to be a feature. We also had large print A3 versions of it so that supported housing tenants would be able to understand and see clearer. And we also made calls to around about 700 of our most vulnerable tenants, those that were included on the list as blind, deaf, had mental health issues, physical disabilities, learning disabilities, or reported a high number of repairs over the last 2 years, or even those that hadn't reported any repairs, meaning that we had less engagement with them historically. And in quieter parts of those 2 months, we did send SMS nudges to tenants, which did see some really good feedback back from that. Overall, we had about 647 responses, which was 5% of all tenants. And that was a really great response rate for us. It was one of the highest non-incentivised response rates that we had achieved via the council. And we also had about 4,000 visits to the consultation platform on the website, which again is the highest one that we've ever received on our engagement platform. The next highest was 700. So we feel like we did everything that we could to get in touch with tenants and give them an opportunity to feedback to us. The overall outcomes of those things were 60% of those that completed the survey found the changes were really easy to understand, which is positive. 57% felt the language was clearer and better reflected their rights and responsibilities as tenants. Around 1 in 4 were unsure. They wanted clearer explanations and examples, so we can take that on board. The main concerns raised about accessibility and inclusion, because we had questions about EDI, was people's ages and disabilities and how the tenancy agreement could affect those of their responsibilities, mainly regarding repairs and how to carry those out. 19% felt changes may affect them due to a protected characteristic. We've got some work to do around that, but the recurring themes across the feedback was around repairs and the responsibilities for that and the condition of the property, the new clause around inspections and how often they will happen and what that looks like, and also what tenants' responsibilities are around their gardens regarding maintenance. And then the next highest points were around ASB, parking and succession of tenancies. So overall, people were just looking for shorter, clearer, concise information about all of those things.
And the next step, I'll be kind of updating you on what's happened next and also the policy implication on this. As Leanne explained earlier on, previously, I think we had emailed and sent update to our tenant about the timescale for this process. That has changed. We've received overwhelming responses from the tenant, and I think it's very important for us to take time to review that and also to involve tenant in this process. So what we're asking members today is we will be going back to tenant with a new proposed timescales, and the reason why we're doing that, just to take everything into account. We're working very closely at the moment with SQA team to go back out to tenants with a new proposed timescale, which I think we're going to be providing you toward the end of this update. In the meantime, we're working very closely with the legal team, checking all the feedback we've received from the tenant, making sure that is incorporated on the new tenants agreement, and absolutely also working with the Easy Read campaign to make sure it's user-friendly for some of our tenants. We're also going to further look at the equality impact assessment. As Liana said, majority of our tenants, I think it was 112 tenants with protected characteristics. We're going to be going back again, actually, to about 49 of those tenants who didn't specify how their characteristics will be impacted on the new tenancy agreement. And also working with them to co-producing the tenants handbook, which I think 81% of our tenants saying that would be really useful. But that is just a complementary document, which will be useful to that. In terms of a policy implication, we understand how important this tenancy agreement is. So currently we're working with the internal teams, ASB, making sure all our policies align with the new tenancy agreement. During that process, we're also looking at our template, our sign-up template, the letters we sent to our tenant. We're also working with our colleagues in income team, making sure everything which absolutely need to be aligned with this is absolutely done before this goes live. As I mentioned earlier on, we will be inviting tenants, and that's one of the delays with this process, making sure actually there is a co-production, people with more lived experience, talking to us, helping us develop the tenants handbook, and actually making sure we cover those marginalized groups who are finding it really difficult to understand the tenancy agreement. Having said that, we're also looking to work with other teams, the complaint department. We want to get a bit of a snapshot. What part of the complaint do we get, which also actually is to do with the tenancy agreement? How can we work with other teams like property and place and the letting team to making sure this tenancy agreement is not a one-off document where the tenant signed and that then is forgotten. We want to make sure that there's training for all the teams involved, as the tenancy management team, our supported housing team, and those frontline officers to make sure this is not a one team, this is an organization. I think we have a vision as an organization about streamlining the customer journey and taking this as everybody's responsibility to do that. In terms of the proposed agreement, we have said that the dates, we want to make sure everything is done, working with the legal, making sure there is alignment of this policy with the Housing Act 1985, but also the Equality Act 2010, and aligning with also the requirement under the social housing regulator and then tenant satisfaction measures. We are proposing the new timeline to be the 1st of September. That gives us enough time to work with the tenant, but also make sure the new revised document goes through back again to all the governance pathway. So I think finalizing this session, I just wanted to say grateful. What this process shows is identified or is shown to us there is quite a lot of areas we need to work, not just tenant management, but other teams, but also working with the tenants. We're very grateful going through this process, which is really demonstrated the strong engagement and the trust we're building with our tenants. And we need to kind of explore that further moving with this process. I think it's also notable to say what we said earlier on. This is not one team, it's a cross-service collaboration. And we want everybody within the organization to be supportive and working with us on this. And that's just asking the members to kind of endorse the proposed timescales we put on the briefing note. Any questions?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for all the hard work you and the team have put into this. It is really good to see good engagement with any customer, especially when it's a council and a tenant in this respect. So I'm going to throw it open to questions from anyone on the floor.
Sorry.
Brenda.
How many people did you ask with the survey?
Every tenant.
I don't remember getting one. I'm a council tenant.
Oh, no.
I don't remember it, but I'm not saying you didn't send it, but I'm just saying I don't remember it.
You would have remembered if you had got.
Yeah, I thought I would have done, but I don't know. I'm just saying, I didn't fill one in. Thing is, I didn't think it was my place to fill it in, being as I'm a councillor as well, if I did get one.
Absolutely, and the opportunity is not lost. As we say, while we've already got the feedback from the tenants, we did the video, we did updates on social media. We are going again out, as we said, we promised the members today, to all the tenants to say, actually, this is what we're going to do. We will be involving some of the tenants in the handbook. So there is ample opportunity. And if there is anything we can learn,
I did read it though, and it seems okay to me, because it hasn't changed that much, but enough. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Gobala, do you want to?
Let me just echo what is being said. So thank you very much for your hard work. I think you did very well. Well done. From your presentation, you've not given us the exact time that you intend to send out the handbook and the agreement, and will this be available online as well for tenants and possibly for members?
yes, we'll happy to put that, and I think that's one of the things which are going to be out after the SQA meeting. You know, with the updates from the website, with all the other channels we're going to be using. There will be also a video which we're going to be doing, demonstrating the process, but also providing very clear timeline. I think we're bound by legally to make sure, because we proposed that April through the last notification we sent to the tenants, we want to make sure the new proposed timescales are very clear to everyone. So yeah, we take your point, and that will be absolutely updated.
Right, Barbara.
Yeah, just a very quick one. I may have missed it at the beginning. You said you had 649 responses, which I think is very good, but what's our total number of tenants that would have had access to this? Do you know?
So over 10,000, yeah.
And there's 10,200 homes that we retain, and there's some 47,000 residents. So appreciating many of those tenants that we have in our homes, we may not have interactions with on a day-to-day basis. So this is one of the highest response rates that we've had for a survey. So it's a really positive response, but appreciating that there are a range of ways that people may provide their feedback.
Yeah, I mean, it is a good response I know from the past experiences, you get very few people. And as I said before, quite often it's the same people that will always apply and everything. It might be a good thing as us as councillors, if we have any problems to deal with the council tenants, we should perhaps highlight what's going on to them when we're talking to people. It just does.
Absolutely, and just to add on what Natasha says, we absolutely know how did the numbers, because as Leanne said earlier on, we went to all our supported housing schemes.
Yeah.
So that again could explain why we didn't get many numbers, because we actually went to tenants, schemes, we spoke to them. We had to have the numbers would be another extra 2,000 we reached out to. And those are the kind of marginalized, some of the marginalized tenants with complex need. So yeah. But we take your point.
Well done anyway, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions people wish to ask? I'm not seeing any hands up. Unless I'm missing anyone. So, do we need to approve or just note this?
Yeah, put the recommendation to the scheduled times.
Okay, are people happy to endorse that?
Yeah, agreed.
Agreed? Right, okay. Thank you very much for your time. Cheers. Okay. We move on to the HRA business plan.
Yeah. I think there's a slight delay there. Right, there we go. So the HRA business plan. The purpose of the HRA business plan is to set out the council's strategy for spending and borrowing in order to deliver services to tenants and also maintain that stock, our council stock. It's a 30-year business plan, so a big aim of it is to make sure we actually run sustainably and so in a sustainable manner, so we can continue to deliver those services for the 30-year period. There is more key detail in the first 5 years as we have more certainty over what will happen in those first 5 years, whereas in the future, the next 25 years, there's more high-level assumptions that are made. So the methodology for setting the business plan I'm about to come on to now, if my laptop plays ball. My laptop's playing ball, but the screen's not playing ball. So I think I might just have to ditch the presentation at this point. But what I do have is a lovely set of inflationary assumptions here. Have to believe me. So there you go. Worth the wait, I'm sure. So we take our forecast 25-26 financial year outturn position, and we apply these inflationary figures to them, or inflationary assumptions. They're not all inflationary. But yeah, to pick out a few there, so we've got our rent inflation, that maximum cap is set by central government at CPI plus 1%. That is September CPI, so that was 3.8%, so that is 4.8%. And we have the rent settlement from central government that says we can do that for the next 10 years. Other points of interest there, obviously inflation set out that CPI level in September, and that minimum HRA balance. We're looking at maintaining a minimum working balance for HRA of 5% of turnover. That's just good business practice in terms of maintaining that resilience in our reserves in case, so we can deal with any future shocks. Voids and bad debts, that's based on trend analysis, what we've actually seen in previous years, like 25, 26. And interest rates there, we have that set of PWLB rate, so that's where we get our best rates of borrowing. We receive that we receive the PWLB rate and the housing services rate and the local government rate. So on top of those, so we take the 25-26 position, inflationary assumptions, and we work alongside the service to identify any future risk or growth or efficiency opportunities. So that brings us to the major budget movements. So as mentioned previously, we have that CPI plus 1%, which brings us an additional £3.5 million of rental income for 26-27. We have inflationary increases of £0.7 million on the repairs and maintenance budget. In addition to that inflationary increase, we also have a targeted resource to deal with disrepair in our law of £0.7 million. Insurance costs increase £0.5 million, but then some efficiency savings from consulting budgets and other efficiencies of £0.6 million. So this gives us our budgetary position for 26-27. We're in a very fortunate position, as I mentioned earlier, that we're in a position where we can top up the HRA reserves, and we know we've got a balanced budget for the next 5 years, all going well with the business plan and not without there being any unexpected shocks. But as I said, we are in a position where we are able to top up our reserves, which builds resilience in the HRA against any future shocks. Also gives us sort of capacity as well to deliver in the next 30 years. So then we also have our capital investment programme. So that property services line, sorry, I forgot I'm ahead of everyone else. I think it is coming.
Which page is that on?
It's testing you.
Yeah. So we do have a set capital budget. There you go, perfect. That property services line there of approximately £50 million for 26-27. That's investment into our own stock. It's governed by sort of our stock condition data that we've received from the property team. And then we have our new build. So new build is delivery of any new stock for the HRA. So 9.3 million is a completion of an existing scheme, and then that 27-28 and 28-29 budget is new budget, and it's effectively utilising right to buy receipts that either we'd use them to replenish our stock, or we'd have to hand them back to central government. And there is also the financing down there as well for any finance nerds, but I'll leave that. So capital programme, there is the financing that on the previous slide. So but the slide that will come up in about 5 minutes' time will be the debt. There we go. So obviously just provide some comfort to members around the council's debt position. The peak debt around the business plan is around 2051-2052, and it's a level of £482 million. So there's 2 points I'd make here to provide some comfort there. The housing portfolio is a £1.2 billion stock. So by the time we reach 2051-2052, I don't think it's an unfair assumption to say that probably around £1.5 billion in terms of valuation. That would leave you with sort of a 30% asset to debt portfolio, which given my mortgage, I'd be very happy with 30%. And then also there down at the bottom right, we have the interest cover. That's effectively the HRA's ability to repay its interest. There is a target rate of 125%, slightly below that in 25-26, but that is, as you can see, throughout the year of the business plan, it's in a very healthy position, way above that target rate. So, looking ahead for the HRA and its finances, there'll be central government has launched a consultation on rent convergence. So that's a policy to bring all social rents up to the formula rent standard, formula rent level. So that would bring financial benefit to the council. However, we don't have any information on when that will be implemented yet. I find it hard. It's very unlikely that will be implemented now for the 1st of April. It's not really feasible for any councils or for tenants. So the HRA budget for 26-27 will be taken to council for sign-off as we go ahead to the new year. And after that point, the rent and service charge notifications will go out to tenants. All while this is happening and throughout the next year, scrutiny and governance will continue, obviously, on the HRA's finances. So we carry out budget monitoring on a monthly basis, budget reporting on a quarterly basis. That will find its way through to scrutiny, finance scrutiny. We have a quarterly briefing with our portfolio holder, tenant voice panel, and other regulatory oversight. I think that about covers it from my point from the HRA business plan and budgets.
Okay. Gareth, do you have a question?
I'd like to know what formula rent means, please.
So yeah, formula rent is a formula.
And conversions.
Yes, so formula rent is a formula set by central government. I might need Ollie to back me up here at some point. Based on 1999 house prices, house valuations, and that is effectively what we can set up weekly rent at. What's happened over the years is there's been rent freezes. So the social rent we set our tenants is actually slightly below that formula rent level. Conversions would be a policy which would bring those rents that are below formula rent back up to that formula rent level.
So in simple terms, what does that mean in terms of pounds, shillings and pence? Money.
In terms of rent conversions, it will just mean that should it be passed and we're able to apply, it will mean that we're able to add extra onto the rent each year to bring it up to the target rent. So at the moment, we're limited to CPI plus 1%. That's the limit that we can increase our rents to. Rent conversions, the consultation asked social landlords about their views on adding an additional £1 or £2 on top of that rent cap. So if it came into place, it would mean that social landlords could add that extra amount to bring it up to the target rate. So it would increase the amount of income that councils can bring in.
Thank you for that.
We are doing some modelling at the moment around what that could look like for the council, but as Joe said, it's unlikely, given the timescales, that even if it should get passed following government announcement, that we would be able to apply for this coming financial year, especially given the fact that we would want to do some work with tenants on the impact of that affordability. So it wouldn't give us time to apply that for the coming financial year.
Okay. Neil.
Thank you. Page 84, HRA major movements. Note 4 about supervision, management, corporate, democratic core. What is reducted consultancy?
That will be a reduction in the consultancy budget.
Is that what it means? That's not the name of the firm?
No.
That's what I was querying. I didn't know whether it meant like that's a saving, so to speak.
Yeah, so it's a saving in terms of I believe that's gap analysis that was undertaken in the last year or two. That's now no longer needed.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm also on page.
Sorry, sorry. Okay, I was meant to let Jan come in now.
Oh, that's right, mine was just a quick one.
Okay, sorry, I apologise.
That's all right.
Thank you. I find the statistics on all these things really fascinating. It's a bit of a joke at County Council. But I couldn't see the numbers on there. Is there any possibility that those slides could be sent around?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Thank you. That was all.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I just got rid of some wrong place. Please. Is that the result? Okay.
Yeah.
Gobbler, so apologies again.
I'm also on page 84, repairs and maintenance.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, it's been reduced by 208K. Yeah. You've explained that it's been driven by 233K reduction in stock condition. Is our repair and maintenance status at present, is it so good that we can take this level of reduction?
So that stock condition, those are the surveys that we do to inform the work that needs to be done. So rather than that being the work done itself, that is, the surveys that inform the work we do. So based on the number of surveys that have been done, we don't need to do as many in the coming financial year.
I've got a follow-up question.
Okay, please.
Thank you very much. And then following on from that, you've got 200K reduction for asbestos work. Are we clear? I mean, that level of, is that an action just for reduction, or our tackling of asbestos problem has been concluded?
So over the life of the plan, we regularly update and refresh stock condition survey position, which informs the overall investment into our assets. That's constantly moving. At the current time, we have an 86% stock condition survey status across all of our stocks. That enables us to make a really accurate decision and projection around investment into stock. And then in the background, you also have the planned maintenance programmes, which informs the overall long-term investment around broader repairs in respect of roofing, retrofits, etc. So this is accurate based on the current stock condition projections, and the remaining percentage we expect to be completed by the end of this financial year. So in answer to your question, obviously as we go through void maintenance works when a property becomes empty, asbestos works are undertaken through those void programmes and also through planned maintenance programmes. So the stock condition survey identifies to us any long-lasting matters to address, like retrofitting and removal of asbestos, enables us to project more accurately the investment required in future. So that reduction is based on that assessment from the stock condition survey.
Okay. Can I do Ian, as you've had a go and come to you afterwards? Ian.
Sure thing. Just with regard to the estimation of the social housing stock value of 4.25 billion, we have 10,121 units of social housing. That gives us an average value of about £420,000. I'm just wondering how you've come to that figure. What's the methodology, the audit that's been done, or the estimate there?
I may have misspoke there. It's 1.2 billion as of our 24-25 accounts.
I may well have misheard in that case.
No worries then.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I know this is a financial report as such, but page 59, the background of the council stock, I've got a whole paragraph 2.1 of approximations. I don't know whether we're able to do exactly as we know, as they quote twice tonight, 10,121 of housing stock. But in the report here, it says that we've got approximately 12,000 properties across the borough. And then it gives us an approximate 8,300, and then it gives us a circa 1,800. And I was just hoping that we can get precise numbers within that paragraph.
So we could write it precisely at the time of writing, but obviously with right-to-buy applications progressing and then completion of new build, there will be some movement, which is why those figures are approximate. But we can absolutely, by return on action, give you the accurate figures as of present day. But they are circa there or thereabouts 10,200 homes with the additional leasehold homes that I can take an action to revert back.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions people wish to raise? I'm not seeing any hands up, so. The proposal was to note the content of the report and the updates to the business plan. Are we happy to do that? Agreed. Right. Okay, thank you again for your diligence in this matter.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll move on. The strategy for getting involved and deep dive into tenant engagement. Right, please, far away.
So good evening. I am Peacock, Head of Strategy, Quality and Assurance. I'm joined by Ada Terry, who is like the Strategy, Quality and Assurance Manager. We were hoping to bring along a few more members of the team as we are presenting to you a deep dive on our tenant involvement and engagement, and they are a crucial part of how we deliver tenant engagement. Unfortunately, due to extenuating circumstances, they haven't been able to join us, though given the space around the room, that's probably actually a good thing. So what we're going to present to you this evening is the Get Involved strategy, a bit of the overview of how we've developed and consulted on that strategy and brought in tenant views into that, and then talk to you around what it is that we do in terms of tenant involvement and engagement across Dacorum Borough Council. So I do have a presentation. Hopefully it will be a little bit more successful in sharing than Joe's, but bear with me. Okay. So firstly, a little bit about my team and my service. We have a Strategy, Quality and Assurance Service, fancy title, but what we do is we develop and deliver strategy and policy oversight and development. We review performance across the service, so our previous performance and tenants' voice reports that have come through to yourselves have been led and supported by my team to ensure that the data is provided and scrutinised throughout the organisation. We're responsible for regulatory adherence and assurance, so ensure that we are abiding by the expectations of our regulator, the regulator of social housing, and most importantly, tenant engagement and involvement, and I'll come on to why that is so important in a moment. Our key focus is around engaging and enhancing the tenant voice, and it's been great that we've already had a great example of how we've been doing that, and we will touch on that a little bit more further on in the presentation. But also then evidencing the so what, and tonight has been a great example of the so what. We've heard from our tenants and we've been able to demonstrate what we've been hearing and how we've been able to apply it in the tenancy agreement review. And then regulatory standards. So the regulator has 4 consumer standards that we are needing to abide by, and we need to make sure that we are able to evidence that. So my service is responsible for delivering that, following on from our regulatory inspection in 2024. We then have our regulatory action plan that is supporting our route to C1, which is the highest standard that we are wanting, that we are aiming to achieve. So just to give you a bit of a background from the regulatory framework that I've mentioned, and that is a key part of why that tenant engagement and involvement is so important. I don't need to bring up the tragedies that have led to the 2 crucial pieces of legislation that has come through, so the Social Housing Regulation Act and Awab's Law, where they came out of situations where tenants were not listened to. They were tenants who were telling us or telling the organisations involved about their homes, and they weren't being listened to. So the Social Housing Regulation Act was around delivering a proactive consumer regulation regime, and the regulator then has enforced powers to enforce those standards. And as I mentioned, we've got 4 consumer standards that we are expected to abide by. But the one that we really wanted to highlight is the Transparency, Influence and Accountability Standard. This was something that was referenced in our regulatory judgment as an area for improvement. And what we're bringing to you tonight is the Get Involved strategy, which is a key pillar of how we're going to be improving our Transparency, Influence and Accountability Standard attainment. So the Transparency, Influence and Accountability Standard, these are outcomes that landlords must deliver about being open with tenants and treating them with fairness and respect so that tenants can access services, raise complaints, influence decision making and hold their landlord to account. So the required outcomes, I won't go into all of them, but they are they are essentially supporting those outcomes, and we are needing to evidence that back to the regulator. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Ada, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about the Get Involved strategy and how we're going to be using that to deliver that transparency, influence and accountability standard. Thanks.
So the road to reviewing our Get Involved strategy started about 2 years ago. We worked with TPAS, the Tenant Participation Advisory Service, staff, tenants and leaseholders, so we could co-design the fresh approach to resident involvement, making sure that the strategy is informed and approved by our tenants and leaseholders. So today we're sharing the strategy with you, which has been through robust and thorough consultation. We held a survey that every resident could feedback on, community events and social media posts during the consultation period. We're pleased to say we had nearly 200 responses, which meant that our consultation was statistically representative of our resident base. So one of the key themes that came out of the consultation was that alongside the group involvement activities that are more traditional, people also value the opportunity to speak to us on a one-to-one basis and welcomed all the different ways they can get involved. But one of the things we've added in this strategy is that ability that they can have that one-to-one time with us to give their feedback. So to support our residents to get involved, we've introduced an incentives policy with this strategy, which is alongside our tenant expenses policy. And we've had some really good success increasing attendance and attracting a wider and more diverse group of residents by offering incentives. We also offer training and opportunities for tenants and leaseholders who get involved with us to attend conferences and events. The strategy is supported by an implementation plan, which outlines all the steps that we're going to take as a housing service during the life cycle of the strategy to deliver the commitments. There's 5 commitments in the strategy. First one is that every interaction you have with us shows we are engaged, listening and respect you. Secondly, we understand your needs and experience as a tenant, and we use this information to improve service delivery. Third one, design engagement and involvement opportunities to represent all tenants living in Dacorum Borough Council homes. Fourth one, we support you to make the homes, communities and neighbourhoods you live in positive spaces to be. And then finally, you hold us to account on our performance decisions, how we engage, our approach to building safety and how we deliver value for money. So all of these commitments are underpinned by our overall vision, which is that tenants and leaseholders feel confident that what they have to say matters, we're listening and that we're ready to act. Alongside the strategy, we also have a revised menu of engagement options, and it's exactly that. It's a menu of all the different ways that people can get involved and have their say over our services. So we continue to promote this during the life cycle of the strategy, so that we can make sure that we're reaching out to as many tenants as we can, and that there's all different options depending on what time people have to give and how they can get involved. We've got a dedicated group of mystery customers who we use to temperature check our services, they review our documents, they provide us with feedback on our communications, and we carry out regular focus groups, workshops and community events. Our tenant scrutiny function is delivered through subject-based scrutiny workshops. So this is a sector-leading approach to tenant scrutiny, which means that each scrutiny subject has an open recruitment so that we can target those people that have an actual interest in that subject, but also have a lived experience of that service and making their insight for us valuable. We are also embracing the opportunities that digital engagement has brought along, and we now offer online sessions through YouTube and online workshops, and sometimes this is the most accessible way for people who have caring responsibilities or disabilities to get involved with us. So you've heard earlier about how we supported the tenancy review consultation, and the SQA service plays a crucial role in making sure that the tenant influence is genuinely embedded in everything we do. So not just a principle, but as something that actively shapes our services. So the tenancy agreement review consultation is a really great example of this. So you've heard earlier that we had 1,200 tenants to reach, and it was a significant piece of work to carry out. So we worked across the service with colleagues from all teams within DBC. We took a multi-channel approach, combining digital, print and face-to-face engagement to make sure we met tenants where they were. We work closely with corporate communications and produce clear, accessible materials and a bespoke video that explain the key changes in a really straightforward and accessible way. We set up a dedicated webpage on our engagement platform, which attracted 3,600 visits. And as Leanne said earlier, that is our highest level of digital engagement so far, so really positively received. Accessibility was at the heart of this consultation, so offering one-to-one phone support and home visits was really important. And the response to the consultation speaks to itself. With over 647 completed surveys, it's one of our strongest non-incentivised response rates so far. We will continue to support the Tenancy team with their ongoing consultation, and this is a really tangible example of how we work across services to make sure that we support quality assurance and continuous improvement. So we've got a little video that shows you the online platform here, if it's going to work. Yeah. So this is the online area that was set up for the tenants to access, and it has the video and all the documents on there for them to access. So one of the key engagement activities that we run every year is our Housing Open Day. So traditionally we've held it at the Forum, but this summer we took it out into the community and we held it at Grove Hill Adventure Playground. So teams across housing came together with our external partners and we ran stalls and engagement activities. We had tenants, leaseholders and prospective tenants join us on the day. We tracked the number of guests and stalls they visited, and as a result, we're proud to say that we recorded over 1,100 individual interactions on the day. We always have lots of positive feedback following events like this, and there's a clear appetite for more. So because of this, looking forward to the summer of 2026, we're aiming to look at running more localised open day events across the boroughs, not just Hemel Hempstead, but looking at areas like Tring, Berkhamsted and Kings Langley. As a team, we carry out lots of other engagement. We've talked about mystery customers and scrutiny sessions. So we like to have a really wide variety of ways for people to get involved. As much time they can commit, we've got different options depending on what they're looking to do. So SQA team, we use performance reports to keep improving our services. So every month we review data at HSLT level, and now quarterly within the members portal for members. Every 6 months we report through to OSC. Tenants and leaseholders get an annual update, including key measures like the tenant satisfaction and complaints handling performance. We also listen closely to customer experience feedback and use this to shape our improvement plans. So we've got a dedicated software package called CX Feedback, which we're able to send individualised surveys to tenants, send them direct messaging and also push notifications. All of this feeds into the communication and engagement reports, plus customer focused updates and profiling. So we're not just tracking numbers, we're making sure that every insight that we get and all the data that we get, we use to deliver better services for our tenants. So talking about digital engagement, Let's Talk to Quorum is our online engagement platform, and it gives tenants and leaseholders a space to share their ideas and feedback and help us to improve our services. So Let's Talk to Quorum is used to share new policies, to promote consultations and activities. And it's quite an engaging and attractive platform where people can go online, they can ask us questions, they can find information, watch videos, take part in polls and surveys. So it's really quite an interesting piece of software. Let's Talk to Quorum strengthens transparency and gives our tenants and leaseholders influence and accountability over our service. So as a service, we're fully embracing the opportunities, both face-to-face and digital engagement opportunities. Recently, we've held 2 spotlight sessions on housing, which are online information sessions focused on tenant satisfaction measures and damp and mould. So both sessions featured talks from several heads of service and gave residents an opportunity to ask questions and learn about service improvements that we're making. We're sharing these on YouTube so that all tenants and leaseholders can access them, at a time that suits them. It's going to build into a one-stop shop for sort of housing advice and information, and it'll also mean that tenants can go back and refer back to videos if they need to in the future. Alongside this, we offer Decorum online training, known as DOT. So DOT is a free digital learning platform offering interactive courses to our tenants and leaseholders. Training includes budgeting skills, employability training, wellbeing courses, and quite a few of them, they get certificates when they complete them, so they can collect the certificates and use them in their own lives. DOT helps tenants understand their rights, keep their home safe, build confidence in reporting issues, all while supporting personal development and wellbeing. So housing complaints and embedding the lessons learnt and improvements is key to what we do in the SQA team and the wider service. This summer, we welcomed the integration of the new complaints digital platform. And as a result, tenants and leaseholders can now easily log their complaints via the online form. And the complaints team are able to assign directly to appropriate offices so that we can track tasks, we've got accountability, and we make sure that complaints are carried out efficiently. The platform also makes reporting and data analysis easier, so we can now analyse trends in complaints, we can identify lessons learnt and look for any service gaps. We've also automated the customer experience through the portal, so now everyone who has a complaint gets a feedback customer satisfaction survey, and we can take the insight from that and feed that into continuous improvement. Alongside the digital platform, we've got an ongoing action plan to improve complaints, and a few of the items that we've delivered on that have been bespoke training packages for all of our housing staff, which is delivered via Doris. Quarterly complaint scrutiny sessions with tenants and leaseholders, and they're ongoing. So every quarter we invite tenants and leaseholders who've made a complaint to come in and give us their lived experience and their feedback on how that went and what improvements we can make. And we're developing a complaints dashboard, which will mean that we can monitor case numbers, response rates and performance a bit more easily and really track those improvements that we're making. Another improvement we've got is that we've got a dedicated complaints area on the Housing Hub now, which means that staff have got an area where they can go to get a central resource area with templates, additional training, key points of contact, reports. So it's at one click away for the staff so that they can effectively deal with complaints and have everything that they need. And then the last bit on complaints is that we are looking to roll out complaints champions. So these people will be members of the housing service who will bridge the gap between us, the SQA team, the complaints team and the housing teams, and they'll build stronger relationships around complaints and drive the culture for change in this area.
Okay, so I mentioned at the start around the so what, so we've listed off a lot of lovely things that we're doing with tenants. But what we're hearing back from tenants is really important, and it's really important that we're using that feedback to shape our services. So we've put up a few quotes here of some of the feedback that we've had from tenants who've been along to either to one of our open days, to one of our scrutiny sessions, or who have served on our previous tenant and leaseholder committee. So some really valuable feedback that has come back and is being used to shape services and future delivery of our services. So what we wanted to bring to you tonight is the Get Involved strategy. We wanted to highlight to you the passion that we have for improving involvement and engagement with tenants. It's a really important reason as to why that is so necessary, but it's it's a massive part of our role, and we wanted to get across to you a little snapshot of what we do. So the paper to introduce the Get Involved strategy goes into even more detail, and I'm happy to take any questions or comments on the strategy or anything we've presented to you this evening.
Carrie.
Yeah, Let's Talk to Chrome looks really, really good.
I just wanted to ask what you're doing to try and include demographics like the elderly and the vulnerable who might not be able to access digital resources like this. Are we as councillors going to get some training so that perhaps we can go out into the community? Because I spend a lot of time in the community centre where I get demographics from all walks of life from all across the borough. And it would be nice if we could have some training so we can actually perhaps help people to facilitate filling out these forms.
Absolutely. So yes,
I know we have enough work to do, but it would be nice if we can do this for them.
We absolutely recognise that there are individuals who may not have access to or may not have the ability to access digital services. So yes, absolutely. We are fully encouraging tenants to contact us in other ways. We're also making sure we've got that data, so that demographic data has not been the most reliable. We've got a big project in order to improve that, so that we can understand and target more effectively. The CX feedback platform that we have does provide us with other ways that we can contact customers, so the telephone numbers and SMS text messages, which may be easier for them than emails or web pages, etc. And we're also encouraging that face-to-face interaction, so that physical data collection. We will be doing a physical data collection. We'll be going and knocking on doors and talking to people.
What about sheltered accommodation? Will there be someone that goes into perhaps like Village Courtage and places like that perhaps has an iPad that can go around? Do they still have wardens?
Yeah, they still have supported housing officer that's based at each of our schemes throughout the borough, so they will support tenants to access any kind of services online. We have in the past as well done sort of joined up courses with Community Action Decorum and some other kind of local providers to help enhance digital skills within our supported housing schemes, and we've actually seen a real increase in the uptake in terms of online surveys and so on and so forth. But equally, we still recognise that for some people, it's just not.
Oh, that's great. And like support workers that work with like mentally sort of.
Absolutely.
What's the best way? I was a support worker, and you might have to support a client that can't fill in something because they can't articulate themselves, but they still would count in the numbers.
Yeah, and
so perhaps that would be looked at as well.
And equally, outside of supported housing as well, we've got tenancy management officers that go out to the community as well as our tenancy sustainment team as well. So.
Brilliant.
David, do you want to come in?
Yeah, just another sort of further example. We've currently got an advert out at the moment to form a sort of focus group around people that prefer their main sort of form of communication around British Sign Language. So gathering those folk together to see how their experience is and learn from that as well. So it's just one example.
And just to add, you mentioned how yourselves can get involved. Obviously, we always welcome the opportunity to ensure that you can advocate actively on behalf of constituents. So as Kevin was talking earlier about the development of the new tenant handbook, that will be led by tenants and influenced by tenants. Very much we see that as a really useful tool for us to be able to share with you on the new member platform and portals to enable you to also support and engage with your constituents. I think also worth us ensuring that we just remind of the opportunity for us to develop bespoke sessions and training sessions and briefings for members on any specific areas of service delivery through your member development sessions, because that enables us to arm you with useful information to support active engagement with constituents. And then I think just finally from me, tomorrow we start the process of the launch of our new contract with Cardo, and staff will be attending a co-produced collaborative partnership session. From that session, we'll be working with Cardo through the mobilisation plan. And we have a new engagement bus, which will be a vehicle that will support us with ward-based engagement activity. And very much we see that as an opportunity for us to engage yourselves in ward-based activity, which will be focused around specific events led by the team, but also thinking about how we curate and make ourselves visible on estates when there's ward-based activity like planned maintenance programmes terms. So we see those as being really useful opportunities that we'll come back to talk to you about in the future.
Okay, Rick, do you want to come in?
Thanks. Particularly relevant comment on what Nash just said. So first of all, thank you very much for the presentation. I'm liking the strategy. There's a lot of really good stuff in there. My comment, as much as it sounds critical, is that there's a lot of good stuff in there that I think go beyond tenants. So I want to make sure that you actually lift a lot of the stuff, like, for example, some of the training you were just talking about, this idea of the ward buses going out, to try to grab the bits that are relevant for people that aren't tenants. So I'm usually speaking for leaseholders, but in this, there's a lot of people that, you know, there's points there about some forms of engagement that's going to be for any resident of the borough. So on top of what you're doing at the moment, let's grab some of those good bits, roll them out to other forms of community engagement, so that, you know, if there's a ward bus coming out that's sort of saying, oh, this is for tenants in this ward, somebody else is going to miss out on that training, somebody else is going to miss out on that budgeting side, etc. So yeah, my point is
just really good points, and completely agree and acknowledge there are opportunities we want to maximise. I think important that what the team are showcasing to you this evening is a get involved strategy that's focused on tenants, because that's an ask of the regulator, but very much I'm sure Hannah would come in to say is that when we co-produce open days and events, it's a whole service effort. There's attendance from teams that support not only tenants and leaseholders, but also the wider resident base, so our community safety team working in partnership with the police, and of course our broader partnership base work with homeless households and other households who require support from the VCS. We do have other dedicated engagement groups and forums. So we have a temporary accommodation focus group, which is made up of individuals who have experienced and spent time in temporary accommodation. And we also have a lived experience focus group who scrutinise and influence the delivery of the homelessness and rough sleeping strategy, as well as a supported housing forum. So really good opportunity for us to ensure that we're proactively engaging, as you say, all residents, and we'll look to maximise our opportunities in terms of the work that Hannah and team are doing with our customer service unit to ensure that we can consider the broader tenant and resident demographic.
I guess my response to that is, it's a good way to think about it, but I'm almost suggesting we try to think about people that don't have a focus group, because, as I said, that you're going to attract people who identify with the focus group that you're saying, but there's going to be other people that aren't in that focus group that sometimes you just want to say, yeah, we want to bring this that other people have already seen.
Okay, I'm looking around for any more hands up, and I don't see any. So I wasn't totally clear whether what the next steps on this report are.
Yeah, so the recommendations are provided at the end of the report. We would like, hopefully, your approval for us to take the Get Involved strategy onwards up to Cabinet. It's currently scheduled to go in February. We have the implementation plan and the associated documents as well, so your approval for those and for us to get on and get it done, basically.
Okay, well, can I put it to the vote? Those in favour? Yeah, everyone happy? All right, so we're agreeing that. Thank you. Thank you for all the work you've done. Right. We now move on to the part 2, I believe.
For the recording purpose, but when I do it for the recording, it's just
Okie dokie. Item 11, exclusion of the public. To consider passing a resolution for the following terms.
Restricted. How can we get part 2 if it's restricted?
You get through mod.gov.
Yeah, you're in mod.gov.
Yeah.
Where is mod.gov?
Leave mod.gov, come back in, the document is a separate document.
Oh, that's the one there, yeah.
I've got it. Okay. That under section 100A brackets 4 of the Local Government Act 1972, Schedule 12A, Part 1, as amended by Local Government Acts, Access to Information Variation Order 2006. The public are excluded during this item in Part 2 of the agenda of this meeting because it is likely that in view of the nature of the business to be transacted, and if a member of the public were present during this item, they would be disclosed to them of exempt information relating to the financial business affairs of a particular person, including the authority holding that information. Okay, get it right.